Welcome to Wine Grind. I'm Ed Doklin. I'm here with Jeff Mazen, the owner of Domenico
Selections.
Domenico Selections, which is a small Italian importer based here in the East Coast. But you guys are in what, 7 states now?
We're in 8 states actually.
8 states.
And we distribute our own stuff in New York and New Jersey, and we work with distributors in 6 other states.
So what I like to ask people right from the get-go is, how did you get involved with wine?
Wine has always been a thing for me. When I was a young Wall Street trader, I did a lot of entertaining. And the first time I sat down at a table and my boss handed me the wine list, I was like a blithering idiot and didn't know what to order, had no idea what I was looking at, and didn't want to embarrass myself. We were out with clients. So after that situation, I actually went home and took out some books from the library and started reading about, wine producing areas. And the thing for me, being a young guy, was California made a lot of sense because everything was written in English. It told you exactly what was in the bottle. I had no idea about French, Italian, German geography, and it was easy to decipher.
So you did it more as, you got involved with wine more as a reaction to going out with fellow traders and trying to be able to know a little bit about what you're talking about, and
that's how it started.
Yeah.
But what started, and for me, I had to figure out what I liked, and I had to figure out what my palate was, because I wasn't sure at that point. I was going off of somebody else's recommendation, whether it be a waiter or some in a restaurant or a publication. And so what I would do is, when there was an article in The Spectator or in Parker, I would go find a retailer that I felt was trustworthy, that knew what he was talking about, and ask for a mixed case of something from a specific region. And a lot of these guys pushed me into things in France and Italy, and I had to learn about new things all over again. And brand names, I had bottles from Chave that I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know who Chave was. But I know that I reacted to them, and I know that I liked them.
So you said something that I think is really important, is like when you wanted to learn about wine, you went to what you considered a reputable wine merchant and asked him to put together a tasting for you.
That's right.
And I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
for the most part.
What I felt like, he was taking a risk as well. I was putting my money up, but he was putting his palate on the line.
Right.
And what it told me was whether the retailer had actually tasted the wines himself, and if he believed in them. And if he believed in them strongly, that those were the things he would recommend. And I'd give him a price range, and occasionally he pushed the issue a little bit and moved me up a couple of levels. And
as all good salespeople do.
Right. But as a young trader, as an assistant trader, you don't make a lot of money. And if I was only comfortable spending $15 a bottle, well, that was the range that I stayed in. And there's good wine at every price range. Sometimes I think there's a diminishing value to going above a certain price point. A lot of times it's about scarcity and not always about the quality that you're searching for.
It's like trophy wine.
That's exactly right.
So how did the importing project start?
Well, I retired from Wall Street in 2005. I had a friend who is now my partner that was going to Italy and had the same desire, wanted to start an import company, and asked me to go along. And if it worked out, great. If it didn't work out, I had a trip to Italy, and I drank a lot of great wine and ate a lot of great food, and that was that. So we ended up going together. We came back. We found enough producers that were willing to work with guys that had really no experience in the business, but just a real passion for doing this.
And these were people that had never been exported outside of Italy? Or
that's right.
Into the United States? Or?
Most of our producers have never been here before. The way this has worked out for us, and the things that we've found, is we've built a local network throughout different regions in Italy. People that may or may not be involved in the wine trade, but have palates that we trust. We found an enologist, a guy named Fortunato Sebastiano, who is a phenomenal winemaker. And he was working with a number of properties in the South. The Spiano is from Fortunato. His belief is that 90% of the work is done in the fields, and the lack of manipulation in the winery is a good thing. you deal strictly organic, and you deal in native varieties.
So how did you hook up with him?
It was a chance meeting. My partner was writing a blog, a wine blog. It was about an American with a passion for Italy, living in New York, and he made some connections, and one of the connections was this guy actually read his blog, and they became friendly. And when we went to Italy, he was the first guy we met. So we wanted to see his properties. I personally, a chord went off in my heart. I got his wines. I got what he was trying to do. They were things that I loved. Now, not everything translated into dollars and cents here in the States. And that's what you do. You poke around a little bit until you figure it out. Now, my only experience in wine was as a consumer. I had never worked in the business before. So I didn't know, number one, what restaurants wanted. And I didn't know what wine shops wanted. And the two are fairly divergent from each other.
Yeah.
Wine shops have a tendency to look for things that are a little more middle of the road. Restaurants, especially the ones in New York, are looking for things that are a little out of the ordinary. When I taste something, my job is to put a value on what's in my mouth. And if I come up with a number based on the range, let's say it's Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, you can buy those for $6.99, you can buy them for $30.
Yeah.
But for your average run-of-the-mill wine, some of them run between $10 and $15. That's a good range for price point. So I put a dollar figure on whatever it was, knowing what my competition was at a specific price point, and I backed into a price based on where the euro was that day and where I thought the euro was going to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months out. That's my Wall Street training actually helps as far as all that goes. Knowing what the cost to pick up at the winery is, and we always ship, if it's warm weather, at least 6 months a year, we ship everything refrigerated. We send a refrigerated truck to pick up the wine, we put it in a refrigerated container, and it goes into a temperature-controlled warehouse. We want to make sure that the product that ends up in the customer's glass is exactly what we tasted in Italy. And so with all those things in mind, we gave them a price. And when we started with this Montepulciano producer, I gave him a price, and he lowers his price. And I said, I think you got this wrong. This is not a negotiation. This is what I need to pay to be able to sell this in the States and to sell it in reasonable quantities. If I come up to your price, you're going to sell very, very little wine, and I don't think either one of us wants that. And the truth is, it's not worth my time. And after he grabbed his chest and pretended to have a heart attack, he eventually came to our price, and we shook hands, and we've had a great relationship. When you start out, you bring in producers because they're willing to work with you. As you get better and better at this, you only go in and take producers that you think you can sell.
Right, and then you expand because if you're dealing with a producer, he may say, hey, look, go check out this guy, he's doing something good, or,
Right, which has happened to us in the past.
You build a reputation, and then people start to seek you out. So
you build a reputation for, number one, being good at what you do, but number two, you pay your bills.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it.
That's the reputation
everybody likes that.
That's right.
All right, so out of the 13 producers, you cover all the major regions in Italy?
We are starting to. We've after starting in the south, we've actually pushed much harder into the north. We found that things from Tuscany, Piemonte, Friuli, the Veneto sell better. It's the things that the restaurants are asking for more and more. A lot of the things from the south are novelty items, but to be quite honest with you, Aglianico is not a very hot seller. It's not something, and it's just an awareness thing. The consumer just doesn't know enough about Aglianico. It hasn't been pushed. There's a lot of retailers that have shied away from it because they don't understand it. But there's value in things that people don't understand. And that, most of all, is what we're trying to promote.
Well, it takes a good restaurateur or a good wine shop to push you into those directions and say, hey, look, you should try this because it's a good wine and it's at a good value.
That's exactly right. And in restaurants, I think it's a little bit easier, but I think, with an economy being what it is right now, with things being as tough as they are, people don't take as many chances as they used to.
And, I've known you for, a few years here, and we're part of the same wine group, and I really know very little about your business, sort of.
Yeah,
and I know, I tried to go to a couple of your tastings at one time, but the timing just didn't work out. So we'll get there.
It's not just you; it's all the people in the group. I don't think anybody's tasted my stuff.
But I'm anxious to try some. So
Okay.
talk about the producers and let's try some wine.
Okay, this the first producer we're going to see is a producer called Terra de Vento. They are located in a small town called Fiano, and not to confuse you with Fiano, which is what this is.
So this is a Fiano?
It is a
I
Fiano
like it.
Fiano. It's from Colle de Salerno, so it's in the southern part of Campania. It's an organic farm. He does a number of things. He's got a horse farm, he's got a hotel. This is a physician, and this is his pet project. He's very passionate about what he does, and he only does two things on the property. He does Aglianico and he does Fiano. It's a very low-lying property, so it's close to the Mediterranean. You can actually see the water from the property. The soil tends to be a little on the chalky side because it's so close to the seaside. And what he does with this is, again, low intervention, all organic. The Fiano is, in my estimation, there are three big grapes in Campania. There's Greco di Tufo, Falanghina, and Fiano. Greco and
Falanghina, I don't know. Do you bring in a Falanghina?
I bring in two Falanghinas, and they're actually very good, and they're easy for people to understand. But Fiano, in my estimation, has got the most upside potential.
And Greco, just because of the historical context of it. But Falanghina, I haven't had any that I really like. Like it's almost like the flavor of the month. I think people are looking for something new and something.
Yeah, it's pretty linear. It's one-dimensional.
It's a sommelier wine.
That's right. Fiano hasn't yet to reach the heights that I think it can reach. I think it's a matter of popularity. If it starts to catch on, I think that these could be some of the best white wines you'll find in the South.
So we've got like a pretty dark color here.
It sees 15% of this sees some second pass oak, so it's on the neutral side. It does liven up the body of the wine. It spends some time in what's done in stainless steel. The other 85% spends some time on the lees, so there's some fat in the wine. And for something that comes from something that's that low lying, it's got terrific acidity, great aromatics.
Yeah, I always like the sort of like a nutty quality that's with Fiano that I always like.
We're filming this in the morning, and it's a little early for me to start swallowing. But there's a lot going on in the mouth. Obviously, I'll leave the tasting notes up to you.
That's good. It's got some nice acidity to it, so it's definitely a food wine. But there is, like you said, there's a little bit of that lushness that's in the mid palate, which is sort of good to sort of complement that finish.
Balances out the wine very well.
And this is a Piedmont producer?
I brought 3 reds out, 3 different places, 3 different types of wines. The next wine is a Dolcetto, 2009 Dolcetto from Cascina Roccalini.